We look not to the things that are seen, but to the things that are unseen. Not every real is visible to the eye. The visible world is loud. It stands in front of us, presses up against us, and demands to be treated as final authority. Pain is visible. Decline is visible. Conflict is visible. The failure of men, the trembling of institutions in our day, the confusion of the age in which we live, all of it can be seen. The eye gathers evidence quickly, and the heart often obeys what the eye presents to it. But Paul does not tell the church to pretend visible things are imaginary. He tells the church not to look to them as ultimate. The things that are seen are transient, but the things that are unseen are eternal. That is not escapism. That is Christian realism. It is the absolute refusal to mistake what is temporary for what is solid, final foundation. The interior movement here is from fixed to eternal sight. The unformed heart believes whatever is most visible must be the most true. It confuses immediacy with authority. It lets the eye become Lord over the whole soul. What is close to us feels permanent to us. What is loud feels powerful. What is repeated feels settled. What is trending feels inevitable. The steady heart learns to see differently. It does not ignore the seen world, but it refuses to let the seen world define reality. The promises of God, the reign of Christ, the resurrection of the body, the judgment seat, the mercy of the Father, the communion of saints, the forgiveness of sins, the life of the world to come. These are not less real because they are unseen. They are more lasting than everything presently shaking. This requires discipline because the visible world is, it's persuasive. A wound can seem more real than a promise, and a loss can seem more real than a resurrection. A powerful man can seem more real than the throne of God. A cultural moment can seem more real than the kingdom that cannot be shaken. But faith is not the denial of sight. It is the ordering of sight beneath revelation. To look to the unseen is to let God teach us what things actually weigh. Paul calls affliction light and momentary only because he is measuring it against an eternal weight of glory. Without eternity, think about it, without eternity, affliction, each one feels ultimate. Without resurrection, suffering appears to have the absolute last word over us. Without Christ, the visible world becomes a closed room. But in Christ, the room has windows, and the windows open toward glory. We live in an age of screens, images, feeds, dashboards, charts, and breaking update news. What appears before us can feel more solid than the words spoken over us. The modern soul is trained to believe that to see something is to know it, and to see it often is to know it deeply. But repetition is not wisdom. Exposure is not understanding. Visibility is not authority. This is one reason spectacle has such power. A thing can be made to feel large simply by being placed before us constantly. A fear can become a climate. A lie can become very familiar. A controversy can become the room in which we live. The eye keeps receiving and the soul keeps absorbing, poor thing, until the person forgets that there are realities that no camera can capture and no algorithm can rank. The Christian life is not trained by spectacle. The Christian life is trained by faith. Faith does not make us foolish. It makes us free from the tyranny of appearances. It teaches us to ask not only, what am I seeing? But what has God already said about it? Not only what is happening, but what remains. Not only what is visible, but also what is eternal here. This matters because a people governed by the visible will always be an unstable people. When the visible looks favorable, they become proud. When the visible looks threatening, they become afraid. When the visible looks confusing, they become cynical. But the people of God are given a deeper horizon than that. We can grieve without despair. We can lose without being finally defeated. We can suffer without becoming meaningless. The unseen realities of God are not decorative doctrines for quiet days. They are the load-bearing beams of the faithful life. The Father sees in secret. Christ intercedes. The Spirit helps our weakness. The dead in Christ will rise. The judge stands at the door. The kingdom comes. These realities steady the heart because they do not flicker when the screen changes. A person trained only by the visible will be endlessly managed by whatever is placed before him, but a person trained by the eternal can live in the present without worshiping it. He can read the news without receiving it as gospel. He can see cultural decline without concluding that Christ has lost authority. He can face weakness. He can face aging, grief, and uncertainty without treating them as the ultimate verdicts. This is one of the quiet gifts that the church must recover. The ability to help people measure the moment by eternity. Not to escape the moment, but to interpret it correctly, to interpret it rightly. The Christian does not say this does not matter. The Christian says this matters. It is not final. That sentence can carry a soul through more than you realize. The visible world is not evil simply because it is visible. Creation is good. Bodies matter. History matters. Tears matter. A loaf of bread matters. Justice matters. But none of these things can be rightly understood when they are cut off from the God who made them and the eternity towards which they move. When the seen world is severed from the unseen Lord, it becomes either an idol or a terror. Faith restores proportion. It teaches the soul to live in the body without being reduced to the body, to labor within history without believing history is all there is to it, to suffer honestly without surrendering to despair. The eye can measure size, color, distance, motion. It cannot measure glory. It cannot measure faithfulness. It cannot measure the final mercy of our God. For that, we need the Word. The Word teaches us to see the invisible. The Word teaches us to see the invisible without despising the visible. It tells us that the body will be raised, not discarded. It tells us that creation will be renewed, not abandoned. It tells us that justice will be done, not merely wished for. The unseen things are not vague spiritual fog. They are the deepest realities that God has revealed to us. This kind of sight changes endurance. A person can bear a great deal when he knows the story is not over. He can lose status without losing his soul. He can be misunderstood without being erased. He can age without becoming useless. He can suffer without concluding that suffering is sovereign. The unseen, eternal things give weight, patience, and courage to the visible, ordinary day. The steady heart does not deny what it sees. It remembers what sight cannot measure. Still is.